I asked the Lord, I said, but Lord, this law school still just feels like it's just so much beyond me. And I swear he said to me, when has it ever not been beyond you? Law school has been hard. You know what the feeling was? Because this is what I would be praying to God, like in tears. I said, God, I just feel deflated. I just would imagine myself, like if this was his hand, and you know when someone's like in the pool, you're holding them, but they're just like this. I just imagine my body laid out in his hands, just completely given up, completely deflated. And it worried me because for the GDL, your only grade is the exams. So you kind of have one shot to do well. Technically two. If you don't pass, they'll give you a second chance to do it. But you want to pass all of them, and it's 7 of them. So for me, it wasn't helping the pressure I felt to do well in school with how deflated I felt. But then I think when I started therapy again, and I always feel like a good student in therapy because sometimes I say things that even get them. Like one time my therapist was listening to me, she was like this, and then I said something and she was like, girl. And I was like, I wrote that down in my journal. But I think for me, things shifted when you might even see some boxes here. I was getting ready to look at places to where I'm gonna move next year, and I was so excited because this one place that I had been eyeing all year looked like there was, you know, capacity for me to be there. That was the first time in a long time I was looking forward to the future. And I even got dressed like really well to go on the viewing. And when I just started to kind of begin to be excited about the future again, because I think that one excitement trickled down to everything else. Yeah, I asked the Lord, I said, but Lord, this law school still just feels like it's just so much beyond me. And I swear he said to me, when has it ever not been beyond you? I started my academic story fully relying on God. That's how I did well in school. I did the hard work, and I said, your grace has to cover the rest. That was actually always my specific prayer. Bless and anoint my hard work, Lord, with your grace. That always meant straight A's. That always meant scholarships. That always meant favor. His grace, when I say that's like the gold dust, listen to me. It takes a leap. It does. But that gold dust, it builds your faith. I promise you. Because as an example, I said, Lord, I'm going to do my very best. I ask that you push me. And how that looked was like, for example, there was a day where I just had an energy in me, man. And I went to the library and I spent that entire day and I got 2 of the essays done that I needed to finish. That I had just been travailing with for like a couple weeks. Got them both done that day. The next way that this kind of came out was this whole grace thing. I studied really hard for the first 3 exams. Felt really confident about them. The next 2, oof. But I said, you know what, Lord? I believe you're telling me it's going to be all right. But the last exam, that was land. And I remember I was actually started off my day the day before really chill because I thought I had finished all my notes for this one particular subject, which would have been, or for sure, question on the exam. And it wasn't until I went back from my walk and I noticed I only had 2 out of the 3 lecture notes finished. And at pressure, because this exam is in the morning and I'm not where I need to be. Pray. Pull it all out of me. Got most of it done by that night. And then I went to that verse before bed because it's something about struggle that keeps you on your knees, bro. It makes Bible study essential, not just something you do if you have the time. When I'm good, I don't have this urgency, but during exams, Bible study had to happen before bed. I don't care how late it was. I knew I needed God, and I went to Bible study and I went to the verse about like grace is sufficient for you. And I said, God, it finally hits me why Paul said, so I take glory in my tribulation. Because it was like, I get to prove you. I know I've done my best. And ain't nothing else more I could have done. I said, but I also feel pretty confident that if you touch this, if you touch my best, it'll be well. And I prayed and I said, I just pray that by the end of tomorrow, I will see your grace come through. I will feel confident about this exam. I promise y'all, they tried to throw us a curveball in that exam. I felt so confident about that exam. Essays got done, wrote essay, it was his grace. It was just smooth. And I ended exams with a smile. I would leave by saying, if you're in an uncertain, undesirable circumstance, your only out is the word of God. Your only safeguard, your only safekeeping is the word of God. And, oh, that was the last point about people. There is a verse that says, even when my father and my mother and my father forsake me, you will take me up. I've noticed that I had a little bit of trauma with people because of some things I had gone through in the past. Like in high school, not in high school, like in undergrad with like friends and stuff. And I didn't even realize until honestly the past 2 years how distrustful I can be of people. I was really wrestling with like disappointment in people. And then when I came across this verse, it's even just coming to me now, and I'm like, if the Lord is saying, even when your father and your mother forsake you, if someone as close as your father and mother can forsake you, why do we think friends wouldn't? Why do we think like, maybe you're in a relationship, why do we think like it's not possible there? But he's saying, but I will take you up. Because if they were given too much of a place in your heart, it will crush you. But if you know that when your father and mother forsake you, the Lord will take you up, you hold people at a healthier degree. And I felt like I had to learn in the past 2 years to hold people like to a healthier degree, kind of put them not down in terms of their value or anything, but they don't have my heart, God does. And through him and asking for his wisdom, I learned who to give, space in my heart to. But I should always make sure I'm doing that through him. Obviously, community is important. Obviously, community supports. That's biblical as well. But I think it's just about the place that they have in our hearts compared to the Lord. And once we're making sure that, God, I'm good even if this person disappoints me. And it doesn't mean it's not meant to hurt. It doesn't mean it won't hurt. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a trial or a tribulation or a measure of suffering if they do disappoint you or you do feel hurt or disrespected or whatever. It just means to say that after you've had your minute of, going through it, you are not crushed because of it. I also had moth to corrupt. What happens if, God forbid, they die or they change or they leave you? And I felt like this might sound extreme, but we don't live in a world where like we don't know that people die or they change or they might leave us. And so to me, that felt like a measure of where moth does corrupt. Meaning like on earth, things don't stay the same. Things go, they get, in some measure, things leave, they go. And I think that's why the Bible's saying like, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but in heaven. And I think that even relates to people and to the relationships and to the friendships that we form. Don't hold that as your treasure. They can be a part of God's gift to you. They can be God's gift to you, but it's God's gift to you. And I don't know, when I thought about those 3 kind of occurrences, because I have had a loved one that passed, I have had people change, I had people leave, and I feel like the Lord was saying, what do you do when that happens? Surely you can't allow that to crush you, especially when it was never understood that those things wouldn't happen. We live in a world where people die, people leave, people change. So I think given that context, there is a promise for us that the Lord will take us up. When he takes you up, it's so much better than when a human takes you up, because he's fully reliable, fully trustworthy. He loves you better than anyone ever can. And any love that anyone on earth can give you will only ever be just a strain from him. So yeah. And then I think the last point was pray. As it is in heaven. Prayer is declaring what heaven demands. I think I had to learn that. I spend so much of my life hinging on the verse that speaks to letting your requests be known before God. And I for sure have been letting him know my requests. I haven't done as much on simply saying thy will be done, but like meaning it and understanding there is an ultimate will of God. we serve a purpose to that ultimate will. We who only see the 1 or 2 dimensional, we who only see today and yesterday, we have to say, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And fixing our focus on, Lord, what is your will? And let that be done in my life. And let that frame even how I pray to you about these situations that I'm facing. He does still want our requests made known to him. He knows it regardless. He wants community. He wants communion with us. He wants a conversation. But he wants ultimately what Jesus did. I pray that this cup pass from me, but not my will, your will be done. So my prayer for you is that, honestly, man, if you're really going through uncertainty or just a measure of trial, tribulation, or suffering, to know that you are not alone, but specifically to look at the armor of God and maybe consider you in your life where you feel like part of your armor is either missing or you didn't put it on, you know? Or maybe you need to strengthen it. And especially if that's the sword, which is the word of God, listen, get on that. And that's it. Bye.